Hollywood.
Hollywood, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How's it going?
We're good, and we're finally connected. We're going to do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to record it and input it out instead of trying to do everything live, thanks to technology.
I hear you. Makes sense.
Okay. So my name is Carl. I go by Criptoknight. I haven't formally introduced myself to you because you've been talking to Capo Frankie B.
Well, Carl, it's great to speak with you, and I want to thank you for the opportunity. I do appreciate it.
Oh, anytime. And I mean anytime, buddy. I've been listening to some of your stuff on YouTube, and I like it, and I actually been looking at some of your stuff. We'll get into that, but
okay, sounds good.
Let's introduce everybody to yourself. If you want to say your name, the name of your band, and maybe how you came up with the name of it.
My name is Steve Gaspār. I am the founding member of the Hollywood All-Stars, which is a original R&B rock horn conglomeration of people that I put together several years ago, and just recently got signed to a 3-year record deal with Deco Entertainment. So we're really excited about that.
That sounds really cool. How'd you come up with the name of the band?
Well, you know what, Carl? Years ago, I was coming in from L.A. to do a gig here on the East Coast. And I was rushing from the airplane to the show and wearing a Hawaiian shirt with pineapples and stuff on it. And I ran through the door into the club, and the sax player turned to me and goes, "Man, you look like you just flew in from Hollywood." And started calling me Hollywood that night. And it's many, many years later, and somehow it just stuck. So that's where the name of the band came from when we decided to call it the Hollywood All-Stars, because it really, truly is an all-star band. And we'll get into the people that are involved. But it's an incredible collection of artists.
You can tell us all their names and what they contribute to the band.
All right. Well, right now, let's start with our vocalist. We have Tommy Bowes, who for 7 years was the lead singer with the Tower of Power. He actually was the singer on their first record on Epic called Monster on a Leash. And Tommy is just an amazing front person, amazing vocalist. Our female singer is Kim Lovering, who is actually living in Florida at the time, who flies up to do these shows with us, who's also an amazing, amazing artist. On guitar, we have a very dear friend of mine, Andy Abel, who also co-produced the project with me, did all the mastering and engineering, and Andy's just a brilliant, brilliant guitar player in addition to being a really wonderful friend. On bass is Scott Spray. You may know Scott locally. He plays with a bunch of different people, but I guess one of his most well-known gigs would be with Johnny Winter. He toured with Johnny Winter and also played with Johnny's brother Edgar for years and years. Also on bass on one of the songs is the brilliant Will Lee. Will was the bass player on the David Letterman show, The World's Most Dangerous Orchestra, and Will has played literally with everyone in the music business. Our horn section, the Uptown Horns, are probably best known for doing the Rolling Stones Steel Wheels tour. They've also, in addition to the Rolling Stones, have played with Jay Giles, James Brown, and a ton of other people. I'm trying to make sure I don't forget anybody. On drums, we have Lee Finkelstein, who works with the original Blues Brothers band. Also on drums, Tony Cintron, who did a couple of tours with Joe Bonamassa, also shared the stage with Derek Trucks and the Doobie Brothers. And then on percussion, we have Eddie Torres, who worked with the Vicki Sue Robinson band. And last but not least, we have two really extraordinary background vocalists. One, Melanie Bennett, and the other one is actually my wife, Suzanne Gaspar, which rounds the band out, including myself, to be a 13-piece band. So you could see, Carl, it's a lot of people, but
I like a lot of moving parts. No, that's fun for music. That must be pretty fun. Do you guys, first off, are you still a native of Trumbull?
Yeah, I am. I'm still living in Trumbull, obviously travel a lot, but this has been home for me my whole life. And you know what, Carl, it's funny. It's one of those things where, you could walk into a club or somewhere and it just feels like home. I've toyed with the idea of moving so many times, but I keep coming back here, and it just feels like home every time I'm here. And I just love Fairfield County.
For all of Connecticut's cons, it does have a few of its pros as well.
Yeah, it does. And you know what? We're close enough to New York where you could get in if you need to, but you could still get out and have your solitude here.
Sure. Has most of the band been together for multiple years, few years?
Probably around 5. I mean, the band was playing prior to COVID, doing mostly cover songs. And what we decided to do, we picked songs by some of the artists that we've all either recorded or toured with. And we were doing our own spin on those. And then when COVID hit, I realized that, you know what, I've got all this time on my hands. And if I'm ever going to take this project to the next level, you really need to have original material. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started writing for it. And that's where the whole record deal came about.
Yeah, a lot of people scrambled during COVID to try to find the use of the internet and kind of make their living on it, if you will, and
yeah, well, Carl, it was rough for a while, yes. And I mean, hopefully we're over that wall and we're through the worst of it.
So how many LPs do you guys have, or EPs? Or
this is our first one. Like I said, we were doing a lot of covers, and I wasn't about to record a CD of cover material. I wanted it to be at least 99% original. So this is our first EP. It's a 5-song EP that Deco released, and we are currently writing. I mean, it probably is going to be a full album coming out within the next year or so. But for the time being, we're working on pushing the first single, Field of Grace, which is the title song of the record. And, the feedback that I've gotten so far has been really, really encouraging. So I'm hopeful that, this is going to open up a lot of avenues for the band.
Yeah, and so for you yourself, or is the whole band Grammy Award winning?
No, the Grammy stuff, that's me. I've been a songwriter forever and ever and ever. It's, in addition to being a keyboardist, songwriting and music production is one of the things that's really a passion of mine, particularly the writing. And it was actually 1999, I was nominated for R&B Song of the Year with a song called Heaven Must Have Sent You. And that was the nomination that I got. Our bass player, however, Scott, has been on Johnny Winter's Grammy Award-winning album. So there really are a couple of us involved in the band that have been associated with the Grammys. And I've been a member of the Recording Arts and Sciences Association for a long, long time. So there are a couple of connections within the band to the Grammys.
That's cool. Is that a hard process to get into, or?
You know what? Anyone can join NARAS, with, again, National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences. But to become a voting member, it's a pretty strict guideline. You have to have so many official major label record releases that have been released nationally and internationally, and they do check up on all of this. So to become a voting member is a little bit trickier. But yeah, anyone can join NARAS, and I would encourage them to do so. It's really a wonderful organization. They promote arts in the schools, and there's a whole bunch, aside from the Grammy Award show that you see once a year, there's really a host of things they do that really try to promote the arts. So it's a wonderful organization.
Yes. What would you say your creative process is? You can speak for yourself or the band.
When it comes to writing, Carl, because I'm a keyboard player, I sit at a piano and usually I call it noodling. I just sort of let my fingers, run over the keys until something I play catches my ear. And, you'll probably talk with a lot of songwriters who may say the same thing, but it's almost like you're a conduit. The song sort of it comes through you. There have been cases where I've gotten a lyric idea and the lyrics come first, but for the most part, for me personally, the music is usually there before the lyrics are. Although I do like to have a great hook to start the song.
Sure. On the geeky side, what kind of keyboard do you? I got a Korg Triton in front of me right now.
Oh, they're wonderful. They're wonderful. Listen, you got to remember, you're talking to somebody who's a little bit old school. I mean, I grew up playing piano and Hammond organ. Okay. So and I've always had an affinity toward those two instruments because I feel the most at home on them. Although, obviously, to be able to move stuff and record and have different sounds. I just recently got a Yamaha Montage, which is, nice. It's my current electric nice. Synth, if you want to call it that.
Yes, nice.
But for the shows that we do, it's always Hammond organ and piano. And, I have thrown the Montage in there for a couple of clavinet sounds and maybe an electric piano sound or stuff. The
Awesome.
band is predominantly, the record is predominantly piano and organ based. And having a real horn section, eliminates me having to worry about covering horn sounds or stuff like that.
Organs don't get used enough, if you ask me.
Well, thank you for saying that. I agree with you. I mean, although, it's funny. When I started the band a few years ago, that was something that I said to myself, it's got to have real horns and a real Hammond organ. And I have noticed a lot of people are starting to drag them back. They're pulling the Leslies out and the Hammond organs out. And I really do like seeing that. And there's some really tremendous players out there. So hopefully between, people like you and, this record, people will start getting more in tune with it. And listen, we know they're a hop in the butt to have to lug around. There's no question. Yeah. But, I mean, for me, it's worth the aggravation.
Actually, one of my favorite rock bands, of course, would be The Doors. And
yes,
lots of organs there. So any musical influences?
You know what, Carl? I mean, yes, they would be different. If you said to me songwriting influences versus keyboard influences, I would probably have two separate lists. But I mean, as far as keyboards, I mean, I grew up, and the minute I heard my first Hammond organ, whether it was, the Rascals with Felix Cavaliere or Santana or Tower of Power, Vanilla Fudge. I mean, all of these records, I started hearing this sound that really, it tugged at my heart. And that was that Hammond organ and Leslie combination. So I would say those bands would be influences of mine. Songwriter, I mean, the first one that comes to mind for me would be David Foster. And I know that's probably contrary to, what you think of when you hear a rock and funky horn band. But I mean, I just think he's a brilliant writer, certainly a brilliant producer. And that would certainly be, I'd have to give him an influence. And not to cut out, I started on classical piano. And, Chopin, George Gershwin, I mean, those are all certainly things that have influenced my playing style and probably my writing, too, subconsciously.
Yeah, I'm also in the listening and the collective records, and some of my favorite is like the Philadelphia Orchestra and things like that. Do you have...
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's fabulous.
Oh, and the old vinyl sound as well.
Yes, yeah, and you know what? That too is hopefully that seems to be coming back too. I mean, our record company, they haven't done it with our project, but some of the other projects, they're doing bundles with CDs and vinyl and all kinds of stuff, and it's nice to see that coming back.
Do you have any pre-show rituals, if you will, to kind of maybe some of the people just getting started to like get the stage fright out?
Yeah, well, you know what, Carl? I mean, I'm really blessed that, listen, I went through all the credentials of all these bands, and everybody goes, oh, wow, they played with the Rolling Stones and all of these other artists. But I have to tell you, one of the things about this band that was very important to me and I'm most happy about is everybody is a nice person. I mean, with a 13-piece band, I mean, if you have people that aren't getting along, it's going to be a nightmare. And if there were a pre-show ritual with this band, I mean, if you have 13 people that are just happy to be together and happy to be backstage together and can't wait to get out and make music together, the only ritual we would have might be a big hug, do a shot and say, come on, let's go out and do this thing. And we really do enjoy each other's company on stage and off.
Cool. What would you say is the funnest part and the most challenging part about making music for you?
The funnest part for me would be the 90-minute show on stage. I mean, when all's said and done and all the work is done and everything else, to be able to get out on stage with this band and be able to play a Hammond organ and now, another bonus, now be able to start, conveying original music to an audience, that 90 minutes on stage is certainly the best part. Challenges, well, with this band, there are several. Booking shows for this band is very challenging because you could imagine a 13-piece band. Where are we going to play? It's limited us to theaters for the most part. And we've done all the local theaters from Bijou, FTC, Infinity Hall, the Katharine Hepburn Theater in Old Saybrook. Because, I mean, we need a big stage with lights and sound to be able to fit this band. It's not the kind of thing I could take into a nightclub and, stick in the corner of a room. We just don't fit, size-wise or sonically. Yep. I would say the booking of it is challenging. And, now that the record is out, certainly I would say one of my biggest challenges right now, which it would be airplay, getting airplay. I
Oh,
mean,
sure.
we have been very, very lucky. We've been played on Sirius XM, a ton of terrestrial stations, literally all over the world. And, you know, the record company has a PR firm that's been very helpful in trying to get us more airplay, but that's certainly a challenge. Look, there's a lot of music out there, Carl. I mean, when you think of the amount of songs that are released daily, everybody's got a record out. And now technology allows anyone to sit in their living room and make an album. So, you know, the competition it's severe. And there's a lot of talent. You know, it's not like I'm not saying this like people are making junky records. There's a lot of very talented writers
100%.
and artists out there. So the sheer quantity of music release makes it very challenging to break through.
Some of the nice gear, like the new one that I got now that gave me so much problems in the beginning, though, it has made anybody in the bedroom a producer, kind of.
Yes,
More competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, we have done, we recorded this. A large part of the rhythm section was done at a studio in Stamford, the Carriage House. A little shout out to Johnny Montanese, who's the owner there. Wonderful, wonderful studio. We actually finished everything, all the post-production and mastering at Andy Abel's studio in Trumbull.
Awesome.
It's at Andy's house, and Andy has been doing this for so long. It's funny. I mean, he knows this stuff inside out and backwards, and that's where I lean very heavily on him. But, you know, we have a kind of a joke. I mean, we still want the stuff. We still want to play it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We still are a group of musicians who don't want to rely on having to, quote unquote, fix everything. And a little saying that we all joke with each other is, before Pro Tools, there were pros.
Yep.
And we try to live by that a little bit, and we want it to be good because you want to go on stage and make it sound like the record.
So yeah, Capo Frankie B is here, and he's giving me a dirty look because I tell him that all the time. Like, we're not going to make ourselves sound like we're not on stage, you know.
Well, that's it, because you know what? It's a big disappointment when you put on somebody's record and it sounds amazing.
Yes.
And then you go see the act live and you're like, oh, geez, man. You could tell how much stuff was fixed, you know?
I mean, I can see on a whole album, I'm even into skits, but maybe like one elaborate song on a whole album, but every single one of them drenched in, like you said, Pro Tools.
Yes.
So I was doing a little bit of reading, and I seen around 2016, I believe, there was an article about you guys doing like a cancer benefit.
Yeah, we do. Actually, that that was, it'll be a year this June. So it was June of, what was last year, 22.
Yes.
That was at the Waterbury Palace Theater. It was a really nice organization called Are You Dense? And the name comes from, it was a cancer benefit for women who have dense breasts who aren't able to get diagnosed early enough. And, you know, the guy, Joe, gosh, his last name escapes me, but a really, really nice gentleman called me up and said, we would love to have you guys for the entertainment for this benefit at the Waterbury Palace. And of course, I jumped, after hearing about the cause, jumped at it. And by the way, the Waterbury Palace is another absolutely gorgeous theater, you know, 2,500 seats, but it's still beautiful.
Yes. Oh, they've lots of remodeling. Have you guys tried to get into the Schubert? Have you played at the Schubert? Or?
We haven't yet. And, you know, it's funny. I was talking to an agent that we're working with in New York, and he mentioned the Stanford Palace, the Schubert. So there are theaters we have not been in yet. But what I really would like to do is this. My dream is that through radio airplay, it's going to expose the band to markets that we haven't been to yet, so that we'll be able to break out of this little Connecticut circle that we're in. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and I love our fans, and we have consistently been able to sell out 300-400 seat theaters locally, but I would love to start doing that and break into, you know, New York, maybe New Jersey, Boston, and try to break out of this little circle that we've been living in for the past few years, you know?
It's amazingly hard, but the local support is always much needed, appreciated, and a great stepping stone, you know?
Oh, big time. And, you know, you don't want to lose sight of that, because these are the people that have allowed us, that have helped us get to where we are now. You know, the funny thing about local stuff is, though, when you talk about local radio, that's a whole nother issue. I find myself getting played in Australia, in England, Sirius XM. More stations than I can even remember to tell you now. But to try to get played in New Haven on PLR, to try to get played in Danbury.
Yes.
I mean, TKN and Bridgeport has been very generous with us and have played us. But it's almost like there's a stigma. If it's a local band, they figure, well, we don't want to play the local bands. We're playing so-and-so, you know?
All right, Steve. So now is your chance to tell everybody your plugs, your drops, your where we can find all of your work before we end with two little crazier questions, the more lighthearted and fun.
You're scaring me now.
No. It's fun.
Listen, for anybody that wants to check the band out, I'm going to do a one-stop shop website for you. It's our own personal website. There's a merch link there if you want to buy the record. There's links there to our record company on the videos. There's a gallery. There's all about the band. www.thehollywoodallstars.net. We're a net website. It's thehollywoodallstars.net. Just like it sounds, no spaces, and there's everything you could want to find out about the band. We're also all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. So anywhere, if you Google us, you'll find us.
Amazing. And what's the name of the new LP?
The name of the album is Field of Grace. And again, that's on Deco Entertainment, Deko. Deco's a very, very cool boutique label. And what they did is they have such an eclectic mix of artists from, they have Vanilla Fudge. They have the bass player from The Who, John Entwistle, when he was alive. A very cool drummer named Steve Luongo put together and worked with John Entwistle and put together a catalog of John songs. They have the pop star from the 80s, Tiffany, jazz arranger, Joe Bouchard from Blue Oyster Cult, Kasim Sultan, who played with Todd Rundgren. I mean, it's a really, really cool label, and we're thrilled to be able to say we're part of that family.
Okay, so do you believe in aliens?
Do I believe in what?
Aliens.
Aliens. You know what, Carl? Maybe. Listen, you know what? I've seen and heard and so much, and the world is changing at such a rapid pace. And I sometimes wake up and wonder what you're going to hear on the news today.
Sure.
If you ask me, do I think it's possible there are? I would say, yeah, I think it's possible. Have I ever seen any? No. But there's a lot of things that you haven't seen that you know are possible. So, yeah, I would say possibly. Why not?
Sure. How about do you sing in the shower, and is that considered practice?
No, man, I don't. Okay. It's funny. I do sing a little. I'm not a singer. I mean, when you start talking about Tommy Bowes or Kim Lovering or even our background vocalists, these people sing. These people really sing. I sing enough to be able to do oohs and ahs in the background. I sing enough so that when I write a song, if I bring it to Tommy Bowes, I could say, Tommy, here's how it goes, and I will sing it for him. But I'm not the kind of guy that's, I'm not super proud of my voice. I don't consider myself really a singer, quote unquote. So no, I'll have to find other stuff to do in the show.
All right, Steve, that's everybody. Let's clap for Mr. Steve. And if you could do us one little favor, if you could tell our name real quick with a thank you for listening to the Mobcast, that'd be great. A little drop for us.
Yeah, I will. I'd be happy to. Listen, everyone who's listening, I want you to check out Earlymorningmob, Capo. This show is amazing. I've checked it out a couple of times, and I would recommend all our friends and fans do give them a listen. They do such great work, and I'm really proud and, again, grateful to be able to be a part of the show, Carl. So really, thank you, man.
No, man. Thank you, Steve. And as soon as we put this on air, we'll send you the link.
I'll be looking forward to it, and you guys have a killer weekend.
You as well. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks,
and
man.
thanks for dealing with our little bloopers in the beginning, bro.
All right, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
We're doing good, man. And he threw a lot of names out there.
Yeah, no, he does that all the time.